Let me take you inside my office for just one day. Imagine the smell of burnt coffee, the constant clatter of keyboards, and the soft hum of the air conditioner that never quite worked. On the surface, it was just another workplace in corporate America. But beneath that gray carpet and fluorescent glare, there was a darkness, a poison that seeped into every corner of the room. And that poison had a name. She wasn't my boss. She wasn't even particularly good at her job. But she was powerful in her own twisted way. Powerful because she was loud, bold, and cruel. You know the type. The office bully. The one who thrives off humiliation, who feeds on fear, who laughs just a little too hard when someone makes a mistake. And me? I was her favorite target. I still remember my first week at the company. I'd spent the night before ironing my blouse and rehearsing my elevator pitch in front of the mirror, desperate to make a good impression. But the moment I stepped into that office, she spotted me. Like a shark sniffing blood in the water. "Oh look," she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Fresh meat." The whole office chuckled. I laughed nervously, trying to play along, but inside, I felt my stomach drop. That was her thing. She never came at you head-on. She'd lace her insults with humor, make them sound like harmless jokes. But the sting? It lingered long after the laughter faded. Every single day, she found a new way to remind me that I didn't belong. If I wore heels, she'd say, "Careful, Savannah, don't trip. This office doesn't need another liability." If I brought lunch from home, she'd wrinkle her nose and say, "What is that smell?" "Oh right, it's your cooking." She'd steal my ideas in meetings, crack jokes about how quiet little Savannah never has anything original to say. And once, she even swapped out the presentation I'd spent hours perfecting, replacing it with her own slides just minutes before the meeting started. And when my manager asked what happened, she sat there wide-eyed like she had no idea. Everyone laughed along. Because that's what you do with bullies at work. You laugh. You don't want to be next. I put up with it for months. I told myself I was stronger than her games. I told myself to stay professional, to rise above. But then one Friday afternoon, she crossed a line that changed everything. It was supposed to be a team-building day, casual Friday, pizza in the break room, silly little icebreakers to remind us we're human. But she turned it into a public execution. She found a photo of me, an old Facebook picture from college, where I was holding a karaoke microphone, clearly drunk and singing my heart out. Somehow, she printed it out and plastered it on the break room wall with the caption, "Future Employee of the Month." When I walked in, the entire office erupted with laughter. That's when I realized something. If I stayed quiet, she'd keep going. She'd never stop. And I wasn't going to let her define me anymore. So I made a decision. If she wanted to play games, I'd play too. But unlike her, I don't play fair. People think revenge is loud. Slamming doors, screaming matches, throwing coffee in someone's face. But the sweetest revenge? It's subtle. It's patient. It's delivered when they least expect it. And that's exactly what I planned. I began to watch her closely. I noticed the way she bragged about never locking her computer. The way she left her phone unattended in the break room. Screen lit up with text notifications. The way she loved being the center of attention so much that she never stopped to think someone else might be pulling strings behind her back. And I thought to myself, perfect. You've seen bullies before, right? Maybe in school. Maybe in your office. Maybe you've even been one without realizing it. But let me tell you something. There's only so much cruelty a person can dish out before it comes crashing back on them. And in this case, it came crashing down harder than she could have ever imagined. Stick with me, because in just a few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how the office bully got pranked back. In front of everyone. She thought she owned the office, that she could humiliate me and get away with it. But when Monday morning came around, the tables turned. And for the first time, she wasn't laughing. This is the story of how I brought down the office bully. Before I tell you how the prank went down, you need to understand who I am. Because people always assume that if you fight back, you must be some kind of natural rebel. But the truth? I wasn't. Not at all. I was just Savannah, a girl who liked her morning coffee sweet, her novels long, and her peace and quiet uninterrupted. I wasn't looking for trouble. Trouble came looking for me. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, the kind of place where everyone knew your name, where high school football was bigger than politics, and where gossip traveled faster than the wind. My parents? They worked hard. Dad was a mechanic, Mom a nurse. They taught me to keep my head down, work twice as hard as anyone else, and never let people's words define me. Good advice until I entered the corporate jungle. By the time I landed this office job, I thought I was ready for anything. Benefits, stability, a clean desk job where the hardest decision was which pen to use. What I didn't expect was middle school drama dressed up in pencil skirts and neckties. You ever notice bullies always find the quiet ones? The ones who don't fight back? That was me. I was polite, maybe too polite. Always smiling, always saying thank you. Always volunteering for extra work just to prove I was a team player. And that apparently made me her perfect punching bag. She saw kindness as weakness. She mistook silence for submission. And worst of all, she thought she could turn me into the office clown just to make herself look better. She was wrong. Her name was Amanda. Funny thing is, on paper, she was impressive. Ivy League degree, sharp dresser, always the first to volunteer to lead a project. Management loved her confidence. They didn't see the poison behind the smile. Amanda had this talent. She could insult you so smoothly, you'd thank her for it before realizing what just happened. Like the time she told me, "Savannah, you're so brave for wearing that skirt. I mean, I could never pull off something so risky." Translation, I looked ridiculous. But in the moment all I could do was smile and mumble, "Thanks, I guess." And she thrived on that. On seeing me squirm. On knowing she could cut me down without anyone calling her out. You'd think someone would step in, right? HR? Management? A coworker with a spine? No, not in this office. The culture here was toxic but subtle. Everyone laughed at Amanda's jokes, even when they were cruel. Everyone avoided conflict because they didn't want to be her next target. It was survival of the fittest, and Amanda was the lion in our little office jungle. I can't tell you how many times I sat at my desk, typing emails while pretending not to hear her mocking me from across the room. Or how many bathroom breaks I took just to breathe and remind myself I wasn't crazy. But here's the thing. You can only push someone so far before they break. And when I broke, I didn't fall apart. I got smarter. I started small. Observing. Listening. If Amanda was going to make me her hobby, I was going to turn her into mine. I noticed patterns. She never logged out of her email when she ran to lunch. She had a habit of forwarding memes to the entire office, sometimes even during meetings. She loved being the loudest in the room but hated when anyone stole her spotlight. And then it clicked. The way to get to Amanda wasn't to confront her head-on. No, the way to get to Amanda was to make her look ridiculous in front of the very people she tried so hard to impress. You should know something about me. I don't like conflict. I don't like yelling. But growing up, I learned something from my dad in the garage. He used to say, "Savannah, the quietest tools are the sharpest ones." And I guess I became a quiet tool. Amanda thought I was harmless. But what she didn't know was that I'd been sharpening myself quietly, waiting for the right moment. And when that moment came, well, let's just say, the roar of the office bully was no match for the whisper of a well-planned prank. So now you know who I am. Just a quiet girl trying to survive in a toxic office. And you know who Amanda is, the bully who thrived on tearing me down. What you don't know yet is how the tables turned. Because one ordinary Monday morning, while Amanda was too busy basking in her own spotlight, I set a little plan in motion. And once it started rolling, there was no stopping it. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But in my case, it was more like a recipe. Carefully measured, timed to perfection, and seasoned with just enough irony to make it delicious. The funny part? Amanda didn't even notice I was watching her closer than ever. She thought I was the same old Savannah, quiet, harmless, invisible. But behind my polite smile, I was planning her downfall. Every bully has blind spots. And Amanda had plenty. First, her ego. She needed attention like she needed oxygen. If she didn't get her daily fix of laughs and validation, she'd wither. I saw it in meetings. If someone interrupted her, she'd steam. If the spotlight shifted away, she'd pull it back with some biting comment at someone else's expense. Second, her carelessness. She left her laptop open all the time. She'd leave her desk to gossip in the break room, her inbox glowing on the screen for anyone to see. Third, her need to overshare. She couldn't resist telling people about her weekends, her hookups, her wild parties. She'd brag about things you really shouldn't brag about at work. I filed each of these weaknesses away, like notes in a playbook. The week leading up to my prank, Amanda was on a roll. Monday morning, she accidentally spilled coffee near my keyboard and said, "Oops, hope you didn't need that report you were working on." Tuesday, she sent an office-wide email with a meme of a sloth, captioned, "Savannah finishing her projects." People laughed. I clenched my jaw. Wednesday, she told our manager during a meeting, "Savannah's still learning. She's sweet, but sometimes things go way over her head," and the room erupted in chuckles. Thursday was the breaking point. She pulled the fire alarm during lunch as a joke, just to watch everyone evacuate. And guess who she blamed it on? Yep, me. By Friday I was done. And that's when I made my move. I wasn't alone in this. See, Amanda had burned bridges with pretty much everyone in the office. People tolerated her because they were afraid of her, not because they liked her. So when I started quietly talking to my coworkers, asking subtle questions, sharing little hints of what I had in mind, they didn't hesitate. They didn't say it out loud, but the gleam in their eyes said it all. We're in. There's a special kind of bond that forms when people unite against a common enemy. And Amanda, bless her soul, was about to find out just how united we could be. I started small, just enough to rattle her. I switched the labels on her desk drawer so she kept pulling out the wrong files during meetings. She thought she was losing her mind. I changed her chair height slightly every morning so she kept fumbling with the lever. She looked ridiculous. And the best part? She had no idea it was me. She started accusing others, snapping at interns, even glaring at the janitor. It was beautiful. But this was just the appetizer. The main course was still cooking. The real opening came one Thursday afternoon. Amanda, in her infinite arrogance, left her laptop open while she went to gossip in the break room. I walked by and couldn't help but notice her inbox. Right there, in plain view, was a draft email she was writing to our manager. And guess what it said? "I think Savannah might not be cut out for this job. She makes too many mistakes. Maybe she needs a smaller role, something less important." I froze. My blood boiled. She wasn't just humiliating me anymore. She was trying to sabotage my career. That was the moment I knew. This prank wasn't just payback. It was justice. I went home that night and stayed up late with my notebook. I listed everything Amanda hated, everything she feared, everything that would make her crumble in front of an audience. And then I built a plan around it. Step 1. Embarrass her the way she embarrassed me. Step 2. Make sure the whole office saw it. Step 3. Leave her with no one to blame but herself. It had to be flawless. No loose ends. No way for it to backfire on me. By the time I closed that notebook, I had goosebumps. For the first time in months, I couldn't wait to go to work. The next morning, I walked into the office like nothing was different. Amanda smirked at me across the cubicles, already cooking up her next insult. I just smiled back. She didn't know I was about to flip her world upside down. And that's the funny thing about revenge. The moment before it happens, that's the sweetest. Because you know something they don't. And that secret, it's power. So there I was, calm on the outside but buzzing on the inside, waiting for the perfect moment. And oh, it came. Because Amanda, in her arrogance, handed me the weapon of her own destruction. She gave me everything I needed to turn the entire office against her. And when it happened, the look on her face. Priceless. But that, my friends, that's the climax. And we're not quite there yet. Emily's voiceover. I knew Thomas wouldn't confess easily. So, I needed to make him comfortable enough to expose himself. She arranges a casual after-hours conversation with Thomas in the office lounge, pretending to be sympathetic about his stress. Thomas smug, Emily. Sometimes people like us deserve more than just being assistants. I could run this place better than Richard ever could. Emily, playing along, neutral tone, interesting, but you'd need allies, right? No one can take on a CEO alone. Thomas smirks, sipping his drink, thinking he has Emily on his side. Hidden in her notebook, Emily has a small voice recorder running. Thomas begins ranting about how he manipulated Richard into bad decisions, sent fake documents to the board, and even sabotage deals to weaken him. Emily's narration. It was all there, the lies, the sabotage, the betrayal. Every word out of his mouth was another nail in his coffin. Quick cuts of Thomas talking with arrogance, unaware that his downfall is being documented in real time. Emily discreetly passes the recording to a trusted board member the next morning. The board member, shocked. If this is true, he's not just ambitious. He's dangerous. Emily, firmly. Then it's time everyone knows the truth. Richard enters the boardroom looking drained but determined. The entire board is present, along with Emily and Thomas. Thomas wears a smug smile, clearly expecting Richard's downfall. Thomas, confidently, ladies and gentlemen, it's time we face the truth. Richard has lost his edge. Under his leadership, we've seen nothing but mistakes. I suggest we vote for a new direction, with me as interim CEO. Several board members glance at each other, unsure. Richard, calm, measured. Before we make any decisions, I'd like you to hear something. He nods at Emily, who places the recorder on the table and presses play. The room falls silent as Thomas's own voice fills the room. I've been feeding Richard bad information for months. The more he fails, the better I look. Soon, the board will have no choice but to hand me the throne. Gasps erupt. A few board members look furious. Thomas stammers, his face pale. That's taken out of context. Emily, firmly, no context changes the truth. You wanted power, and you were willing to destroy this company to get it. Richard, cold, resolute, your ambition blinded you, Thomas. And now it's over. A board member slams his pen onto the table. You jeopardize this company for your ego, Thomas. Do you realize what you've done? Another adds sharply. Employees lost confidence, deals were put at risk. All because of you. The room buzzes with outrage. Thomas raises his hands, his voice trembling. Wait. I only did what I thought was best for the company. Richard was making mistakes. I needed to act. Richard shakes his head, calm but cutting. No, Thomas. You didn't act for the company. You acted for yourself. The chairman of the board stands. Effective immediately, Thomas. You are relieved of your duties. HR will escort you out. Security will recover your access and devices. Thomas's face drains of color. His smirk is gone, replaced with pure panic. Emily watches with quiet satisfaction. As Thomas is escorted out, employees gather in the hallway. Whispers ripple through the crowd. One whispers, "That's the guy who tried to take Richard down." Another adds, "He got what he deserved." Thomas avoids eye contact, his once cocky stride reduced to a shuffle of shame. Back in the boardroom, Richard thanks the members for standing by him. This company deserves leaders who care about more than themselves. From this day forward, we rebuild stronger. He turns to Emily. And I couldn't have done this without her courage and loyalty. Emily nods, smiling humbly. Later, Richard and Emily sit in his office. Richard. You risked everything to help me. I'll never forget that. Emily. You trusted me when no one else did. We had to show the truth. They share a moment of relief, knowing the storm has passed. Savannah's voice carries over scenes of the office returning to normal. Employees working, laughter in the break room, and Richard confidently leading again. Savannah voiceover. When the dust settled, the company wasn't just saved, it was renewed. Richard proved that true leadership means facing challenges head-on, not running from them. And Emily? She showed the power of loyalty, courage, and quiet strength. A brief scene shows Thomas in a modest office somewhere else, stripped of influence, bitterly scrolling through job postings. His phone buzzes with a news alert. Disgraced executive removed after attempted coup. He slams the phone down, consumed by regret. Savannah voiceover. As for Thomas, ambition without integrity led to his fall. No amount of schemes could save him once the truth came out. Back at the company, Richard awards Emily with a promotion in front of the team. Applause fills the room. Richard. Loyalty and courage should never go unnoticed. Emily has both in abundance. Emily smiles, humbled but proud. In every workplace, there are those who thrive on tearing others down. But bullies, whether loud or subtle, always leave cracks in their own armor. And when you stand together, when you hold fast to honesty and resilience, those cracks break wide open. Scene fades on Savannah, narrator. sitting at her desk at home typing. Workplace betrayal stings. But justice, when it finally comes, is always sweeter. She looks directly at the camera with a slight smile. So tell me, have you ever seen a workplace bully get exactly what they deserved? Over slow fades of the office running smoothly again, Savannah's tone shifts from dramatic to conversational, drawing the audience closer. Savannah voiceover. At the end of the day, justice isn't always instant, but when it comes, it's powerful. Thomas thought manipulation would give him control. Instead, it gave him nothing but shame. And Emily and Richard? They proved that loyalty and truth will always outlast deceit. Camera cuts to Savannah in a cozy setting, like a living room with warm lighting, speaking directly to viewers. Savannah to camera. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to deal with a workplace bully? Did they ever face consequences, or did you have to fight back in your own way? Share your story in the comments. I'll be reading them. Text on screen with subtle animation. Like, comment, subscribe. Savannah smiling. If you found this story satisfying, hit that like button, subscribe for more storytelling dramas, and don't forget to share this video with someone who's faced a bully at work. Who knows, maybe they need this reminder that justice can win. Savannah, voiceover as the video fades to black. Remember, bullies may think they hold power, but real strength lies in integrity, resilience, and unity. And that's a truth no scheme can destroy.